Alright man, finally some free time to make this video for you. So this is a video for Frederick Strabo. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. He asked a question about one of the videos that I did a while back in regards to greasing the groove with the bench press. So he basically asked, can you give a bit more of an explanation of how you went about things? So I think I put on 20 kilos in 4 weeks. I've got the training program right here, so I'll give you exactly what I did. So I did 20 kilos increase in my 1 rep max in 4 weeks. This was during a time that I was injured. I was in a moon boot. I was playing basketball weeks before that and rolled my ankle pretty badly. Sat on it for a little while, and then I ended up getting an x-ray and working out that one of my fifth base metatarsals broke, and so I had to go on a moon boot, blah 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 blah. Spent a couple of weeks feeling sorry for my ass, and then bumped into this Pavel Tsatsouline guy on the web. Got one of his books, Power to the People, which inspired this whole program. And as I finished it, I thought, man, let's implement some of these ideas and let's do this. So I basically started benching every single day. The most I ever did was 3 sessions a day in that one day. But for the most part, I think it was twice a day. I'm just looking through the weeks here. It was basically on average twice a day, occasionally 3 times a day, and occasionally once a day. So it was predominantly 2 sessions a day. It was predominantly a morning session and a PM session, but that doesn't really matter. So Monday here, the first session was started on Monday for simplicity's sake, I guess. I did 105 kilos for 1 set, and then I backed off with 90 kilos for 3 sets of 3. That was the first session. And then I came back in the PM and I did 110 kilos, which is at the time my true max. And then I backed off again for 90 kilos for 3 sets of 3. So that was the first day of my training. So I just want to make clear, Pavel Tsatsouline doesn't recommend this sort of shit. What Pavel Tsatsouline recommends is that you try and work out, or you test, and then you wait a couple of days. Try and work out what your 10 rep max is. And then you do a third to 2/3 of those repetitions multiple times a day. So if you can do, just so for simplicity's sake, do 10 push-ups, that's your maximum repetitions on push-ups. You will do 3, 4, 5 or 6 reps throughout the day, multiple times a day. So say, you wake up in the morning, you do 3 reps, 3 push-ups, and then you piss off, you go about your day, and then sometime during the day you do another set, and then sometimes later after that you do another set. So you accumulate rep work throughout the day without getting near that fatigue and metabolic kind of disruption state. So you're kind of just greasing the groove, you're going through the motions, you're always comfortable, you're never feeling the lactic acid burn. That's what Pavel Tsatsouline recommended. So I read his book and I thought, okay, can I implement some high frequency training using some of his ideas and implement something that would work for me? So I wanted to increase my 1 rep max. I wasn't interested in increasing my 100 kilos for max reps. I was interested in getting that 1 rep as high as I possibly could in terms of weight. So I just thought increasing my rep work is not something that I'm after. I want to actually increase my weight. So I kind of brainstormed a little bit and altered it for my own liking. So I just wanted to point that out because I keep saying Pavel Tsatsouline. He's probably the most influential person in terms of training science for me. He's probably the most influential. But I have had influences all over the place, and the other influence I've also had was the Bulgarian system. As you might know, Bulgarian system is basically similar thing. You're training a million times during the day, as many times as you can, but you're dealing with 1 rep max weight or training max. So the Bulgarians, for example, for the squat, that's what they're known for. They would warm up and they would hit the heaviest repetition they could for one single, and then they will come back and hit it again throughout the day at some point. I think they trained up to 3 times a day, but that wasn't just it wasn't just squatting. They also did the clean and jerk and you know, and all that sort of stuff. So weightlifting methodology, and this is what Pavel Tsatsouline, he's talking about, is just general strength work. Now both of these methods are not training your metabolic conditioning. They're purely training your efficiency in lifting, or in that particular movement. So it trains the central nervous system, the nervous system, to be more efficient in that movement. It's not actually getting you bigger, although I did get bigger with what I did. So this is central nervous system training, and this is for strength gaining, basically. So back to what I did. So the first session I did 2 sessions. So for the first day I did 2 sessions. In the first session I hit 105, and then I backed off with 90 kilos, 3 sets of 3. In the second session I hit 110 for a single, and then again did 90 kilos for 3 sets of 3. On the Tuesday I only worked out once, and on that day I hit 110 kilos for 1 set, and once again I hit 90 kilos for 3 sets of 3. So as I'm looking down this training log, I can see that 90 for 3 sets of 3 was the most frequent back off sets regimen that I did. It was continuously 3 sets of 3 sets of 3. And then during the first week on that Thursday, I decided for whatever reason that I would do some chin-ups, and I did 3 sets of 5 chin-ups after a training session on Thursday. And on Thursday I only did one training session as well. So, and then on Friday once again, Saturday twice, Sunday twice, and then on Saturday, on that first Saturday, I changed it up a little bit. I just want to give you exactly what I did, so you have something to work with. If I just talk in generalities and I just talk in philosophy, it doesn't really give you much. So if I give you exactly what I did, you know, you can take it for what it is, and you can see exactly how I went about things. So on that Saturday, I can see here that I'll tell you what I did. I did 100 kilos for 10 singles, right? So, you know, 10 singles, man, that's a lot of singles. This session would have taken a freaking long time. By the way, this was the second session that I did this. So I did 10 singles with 100 kilos. Then with 105 kilos, I did 3 singles. And then I did 110 for 2 singles, 115 for 1 single, and then I backed off, you know, I worked up to 115 for 1 set of 1, and then the last thing that I did was 100 kilos for 3 sets of 3. So, I mean, that session would have been a really long session. So you can see what I did there. I worked with 100, 105, 110, 115 kilos, and I did a whole lot of singles, man. Everything was singles until I did the drop sets of, until I did the back off work with 100 kilos, 3 sets of 3. So I worked up to 115 single, but I did a shit ton of singles leading up to it with 100 kilos, 105 kilos, 110 kilos. So it just gives you an appreciation that I did a lot of freaking singles with weight that could have done maybe 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s with. And that type of workout was something that I continued to do during the second week. And then, yeah, that next Monday, I broke my 1 rep max. I did 120 kilos for 1. Then, where's the next PR? And then at the start of the 3rd week, yeah, I started the 3rd week, I did 130 for, you know, for 1 set. No, 125 for a single. So you can see that I did a whole lot of repetitions, and I made sure I wasn't getting tired while doing it. I predominantly spent my time doing singles, you know, until I hit a weight that I thought was heavy enough, and then I would back off with 3 sets of 3. So there you go, man. Shit ton of work, shit ton of reps with not much fatigue, and a shit ton of frequency. Now, somewhere in this, I didn't document that, somewhere in all of this, I developed, I guess you could call it an injury. I remember vividly that I started getting pain. I'll show you. I started getting pain somewhere around here, and the pain was only when I load the bar up. When I would grab the bar and I would unrack, I would feel pain in that portion of my hand that caused a numbness to these two fingers, and that numbness was getting worse and worse and worse. And I think in the previous video that you asked me the question on, I talked about putting gloves on, and I think I mean it wasn't in the video, but I actually used, so I tried to use some sponges as well, trying to give some cushioning to my hand so that didn't kill me so much. Eventually what sorted it all out for me was that I kind of like started playing with internal rotation, external rotation. I think I did a bit of work with, you know, thumbless grip, but eventually that went away when I kind of worked out a technique for it. But that was the only injury that I had. My shoulders felt well, my elbows felt well, everything felt well, despite all the frequency, despite all the repetitions. I didn't really do any stretching, I didn't do any foam rolling, I didn't any of that. I just did a whole lot of frequency with weight that wasn't going to hurt me. And I remember that I would try and pause some of these reps. It wasn't bouncy, like I wasn't lifting weight that was, you know, too heavy for me. And that's the whole point. Like this program allows you to be, allows you to do, you know, self-regulating, you know. It's not rigid like some programs where, you know, you gotta hit 100 kilos for 3 sets of 3 no matter what. So then, you know, freaking, you know, straining against the weight and whatever. And I mean, this program cannot have any of that in there. You need to feel comfortable. You need to feel like it's easy. You need to feel like you're greasing the groove, going through the motions, all that sort of stuff. So that's basically what I did. On the 4th week, on the Saturday, I did 130 kilos for 1 set of 1, and I think I put that in the last video. That was the best lift I had. And you know, you might ask yourself, why did I stop? Well, I stopped because then my moon boot came off, and I started doing deadlifts. I can see here, I started doing rowing, I started doing squatting slowly. I mean, all these numbers are like, you know, really, really small. Like, you know, I did deadlift for like 80 kilos. You know, 80 kilos for 5 sets of 1, stuff like that, because my ankle was still kind of not right. So there you go, man. That's what I did. I hope that answers, you know, most of your questions. In terms of repetitions, in terms of percentages, I can't give you that. Just do a shit ton of reps with comfortable weight, somewhere in the range of, you know, 90% of your 1 rep max. You should touch that kind of weight every single day, and then do back off work. Now, as I've already mentioned, I did a lot of warm-up sets. You know, on that Saturday, the first Saturday, like, you know, 10 singles at 100. I ended up hitting 115 for my top single, but I spent 10 singles. I did 10 singles at 100 kilos. Then I did 3 singles at 105, 2 singles at 110. So you can see that I did a shit ton of reps in that kind of 80 to 90% range, without going near failure, and making sure that your form is perfect. I remind you again that this is a central nervous system training. This is not metabolic conditioning. This is not building an extraordinary amount of muscle. This is not hypertrophy training. Although, like I already said, that I did get a little bit bigger in my triceps and my chest, but it wasn't like a bodybuilding program. This is purely central nervous system, mastering that movement, and that's what I attribute to the 1 rep max that I got in, you know, 4 weeks. So that's basically it, man. I'm just trying to think about your question. I'm recording my video, so I can't see your question. But you asked about stretching. You asked about, you know, sets and reps. I kind of told you what I did there. But how long you can run that, I'm not sure. If you want to be a specialist in the bench press, I guess you can just minimize your work in the deadlift and the squat and just smash the bench press. But my experience with training is that when you try and increase all the 3 lifts in powerlifting, like in, you know, bench, squat, deadlift, everything kind of slows everything down. You know, recovering from the deadlift is extremely difficult, and that probably makes the bench press worse, makes the squat worse. So, I mean, if all you care about is bench press, just do that. and just look out for shoulder imbalances, shoulder girdle imbalances, because you're pushing so much. You probably would want to introduce some sort of pulling exercise to kind of balance the shoulder joint. But other than that, man, that's basically it. Now, that was where's the date on this? That was a couple of years ago, and I hit 130 then. And fast forward a couple of years now, and I'm still 130 kilos. But that's because I haven't really given bench press much respect at all. Like my focus has been the squat and the deadlift, and I've kind of put the bench press on the back burner. And I've tried to do the squat everyday program several times, and if you're dedicating so much energy to the squat, you're gonna have very little energy for any other movement. But yeah, I found high frequency for bench press was unbelievable. But I think there's a general vibe here that the more reps you do, the stronger you're gonna get. The trick is handling weight that's not gonna tax you too much. I think that's the magic behind greasing the groove, is just do the freaking movement more. If you're somebody that can bench press 200 kilos, obviously you can't handle 90% work every single day for multiple times a day, but I think those percentages might come down for some of these advanced lifters, and you can maybe handle 70% weight every day. But I don't know, for my novice, intermediate kind of stage that I was at during that time, high frequency worked for me, and high frequency seems to work for my squat as well. I don't get injured. I had some muscle imbalances with the squat, but I kind of sorted that out. I worked it out. I'm a big believer in high frequency training. Just look up Pavel Tatulin's work, look up Bulgarian system, look up Ivan Abijayev. That's the guy that kind of started the whole Bulgarian, crazy multiple times a day training sessions. Just read up on some of their work. I mean, what I did was basically I merged the two methodologies together, and I came up with this. But the other thing is, man, like I know 531, I know starting strength, Mad Cow, all those programs that I kind of did in the past. That's all well and good, but like I actually enjoy training. Like I love to train, and so training every day is something that I want to do, not just because of the gains, but because I actually enjoy it. And it's also a stress reliever for me. In the area that I work, there's a lot of stress. I work in a hospital, so training every day for me, it suits me for multiple reasons. It's fun, it's a stress reliever, and at the same time you get some pretty decent gains, and you stay away from the injuries. I think one of the things that people forget is that there are certain structures in our body that don't get a lot of circulation, i.e. joints. The only time they get washed in blood or circulation is when we move. So your ligaments, they get perfusion through movement, whereas muscles they get perfusion all the time. So the more you move, the healthier your joints are going to be. The other thing I recommend is read a book, an ebook called Squat Every Day. I think it's called Squat Every Day. Squat Every Day by Matt Perryman. That's another awesome book that you should read if you're interested in this type of training. So this guy touches on some of these ideas that I just touched on, talking about lower risk of injury with high frequency training, because of this sort of stuff that I just said. Your joints are healthier because they get more movement through them, and they get more nutrients, so they can repair. But anyway, this video is going to be a long ass video. If you have any questions, ask me, man. Hopefully I've answered all of your questions. But hit me up if you got any questions, man. I'm happy to make another one of these for you. Alright, dude. Catch you in the next one.